Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining in our webinar today. We're happy you're with us. I am Jeannie Mikhailides with Advanced Partners, and this is just one example of how we're all about collaboration and bringing you information and important details for you to run your business more streamlined, more efficiently. Before we get started, I'm going to turn this over for a little housekeeping item to Alan, who's our magic man behind the curtain. Alan.
All right, thank you, Jeannie, and thank you everybody for joining us here. A few things about the webinar. This is going to be recorded, and we will send everybody a link to the recording via a post-event email after this event concludes. If you're interested in submitting a question, we will have a Q&A near the end of this session, and use that Ask Question widget in the console, the webinar console in front of you. Even if your question's not answered, it is valuable in helping us develop additional resources, such as FAQs, articles, and future events like today's webinar. There is a section called Files and Resources, and in that Files and Resources is a PDF of today's slides that will be shared. And a survey is going to launch at the conclusion of this event. We hope you take a moment to fill it out, and your feedback is valuable to us. So that helps us find the content we provide to you, and you can actually complete the survey anytime, as it is on the console for easy access. And for any technical issues during the webcast, please select that help widget as pictured in the console. That's that question mark icon, and this provides the most common issues and resolutions. So Jeannie, with that, I'll turn it back to you to continue.
Fabulous. Thank you, Alan. It is my pleasure to introduce our presenter today. Michelle Kirshner is with our strategic partner, SyncStream. We have been working with them for a couple of reporting seasons now, and they are fabulous. I'm sure you're going to want to hear everything she has to say, but please keep in mind that Michelle's information is informational only and not to be construed as direct advice. So please keep that in mind. And with that, Michelle, enlighten us.
Wonderful. Jeannie, thank you so much, and team, for having me today. I'm anxious to dive in with all of you as maybe you're considering or looking at what are the next steps for your ACA. Maybe you've just been through a reporting season that may have been tumultuous for you. So we're here to help guide as a strategic partner and give you the best insights to make sure that you're using all of the best practices in play. So today, I'm going to dive in our agenda. I'm going to be going through an introduction of who is SyncStream and what is our relationship with Advanced Partners. We're going to be talking about ACA legal compliance. We're going to talk about onboarding, service and support, items you should look for as you're looking for your ACA provider. We're going to talk about some competitive advantages, and we're going to dive into any questions and answers that you have after this segment. So I am going to dive in here and share with you some areas where we can discuss what we are, who is SyncStream, and what we are doing. And I apologize, I'm getting some glitches here, so give me just a second and we'll just proceed right through. There we go. There's always just a little compliance that wants to give you some trouble. So we're going to dive in. I want to share with you as a strategic partner, when you are looking at ACA compliance, I want to share with you that our stance at SyncStream, we've been at this since the inception of the ACA. It's very important that you understand, and as you're going through this process, that you're with a partner who understands that staffing world. That's really important because in your area, you're very unique. And working with a strategic partner that can guide you through this process is always something that you want to consider as you're looking at this. Now, I'm going to share with you because many clients ask us, so tell us about SyncStream. What are you doing and what does that look like? As I would like to share with you, we work directly with our clients, and you can see that staffing is one of our areas of strength. This is an area that we've had some substantial growth in due to the fact that we know those finite capabilities that need to be handled and taken care of. We have a great strategic partnership with many of our clients, but Advanced Partners being one of them. And I will share with you that we do a lot of work on the broker end. You can see here a list of the top 25, and we work with 10 of those top 25. And And then letting you know that working with all of strategic partners in our groups is really important so that we can serve each one of you. Another area where there is also some concerns or issues is in that payroll world, and Advance handles that so well. So making sure that you know how your information needs to be submitted and be brought over is one of the key pieces that really makes a strategic partnership work well. Now, let's dive into some of the stakes. A lot of people ask me, Michelle, what is my stake in the game? What does this look like? We like to say, companies, when you're relying on companies to provide direct input, meaning tracking, reporting, and following your employees through the cycle, this keeps you at a very low risk. There is a risk when you are midway in a source called ACA Lite. Now, I like to talk about what is ACA Lite. There are many solutions out there, and solutions that are ACA Lite are probably areas that have been brought in that we're thinking that ACA was going to go away. So we're just going to put a light model in place so that it will get you by. But what we're learning is there's a lot of staffing agencies that are having issues with the light methodology, and they're getting penalty letters. So we're happy to speak with anybody in regards to that if you're having issues or concerns, and I'll dive into that further here in a couple more slides. An area of very high risk that I want to point out, and don't be ashamed by this, there are companies that have not filed, and we get these phone calls all the time. So I don't want anybody alarmed. If you have not filed, or you have multiple years, or maybe you're on this call today and you're going, gosh, I think I should have filed, but I don't know, we're happy to speak with you, and you should speak to somebody in regards to becoming in compliance so that the IRS does not reach to you with a letter. So if you are under that concern, please feel free to let us know. We like to say that we're in this industry to solve clients' problems. And one of the things that we like to bring forward as you're looking for an ACA provider, here's some areas that I'd like you to consider. You want to make sure that you have compliance tracking. With that compliance tracking, you want to make sure that everything is up to date with the laws, rules, and regulations in that solution that you are using. I'm going to share with you that every October, the IRS comes out with new standards and guidelines for the coming year. So this reporting year that we're talking about is 2023. We physically don't report on that until we jump into 2024, but it's called the 2023 reporting year. You want to make sure that you know that you're with a solution that has everything up to date. You also want to make sure that you have a solution that provides 1095C and the 1094C forms. You want to make sure that print to mail and e-file solutions are all taken care of. You also want to consider knowing that you have a customer support specialist, knowing that there is a burden with taking on the ACA. You want to know that you have a partner who works alongside of you to help you make sure that you're submitting everything to the highest standards and qualities, and that the forms are audited for potential penalties or errors prior to any submission to the IRS. Now, making sure that you have in your capabilities, knowing a solution that has the safe harbor affordability calculators and ICRA calculators. You know, there are many forms of insurance that are out there. Knowing that you're with somebody who can protect you and guide you through them is always of high importance. I like to talk about state mandate filings, because not only is there a federal filing, there are state mandate filings. There are presently 6 state mandate filings. If you are one of those 6 states that require that filing, we will recognize that and make sure that they are reported to the state appropriately. We also handle past year's filings. So as you heard me speaking, it's important to know that you have someone in play that can help you from start to finish. So if you do have past years, we can guide you through that. Another area of importance that you want to consider when you're looking at an ACA provider is knowing that you have some place to house these forms, a tax form repository. As you hear me talking, the IRS issues penalties for anybody who's not in compliance. The IRS is presently 2 years behind in submitting those penalty letters. Now, I don't know about all of you, but I can't remember what I ate for breakfast this morning, let alone what I filed 2 years ago. So having a repository in place to house those forms in case there's ever an inquiry is really, really important. Another area of strong presence that I'm going to talk about here is making sure that you have that IRS audit defense. Because if you do get a letter from the IRS, you want to make sure that you're protected. Now, let's dive into some risk management and compliance and talk about the cycle and what this process looks like. You hear me talking about the ACA logic and code. As you know, the IRS does those updates every October. Making sure that you have everything in compliance to the current standards of laws, rules, and regulations is really important, protecting you and your company. Another area that I like to discuss and talk about is making sure that your e-filing and the validity and the integrity of your filing is in play. I can't tell you how many phone calls I receive after the filing cycle is just completed, and people reach out and go, Michelle, I thought I was completely filed, but I've encountered that I was rejected due to errors and nobody told me. And now I'm in trouble and I need to correct these areas. It's important to know that you have that e-filing, that there's a customer support specialist that guides you through that and leads you to make sure that all of your filings are done completely and accurately. Now, cybersecurity and the system performance are of utmost high standard that is very important when you're looking. You want to make sure that you know that everything is done in real time so that your tracking and reporting is done and you know accuracy. You know when to offer coverage. You know who to offer coverage to. All of those things are very important as you dive into the process. And then lastly, what's very important, as we all know, we all strive for customer service. It's important to have a provider that can give you that customer service satisfaction, that watches you, guides you, and protects you. So those areas are of utmost importance when you're looking into what does it look like when I need a good ACA provider. Now, I like to share just a little example so that you can kind of see what a penalty could possibly be. Now, I'm showing you information that is coming up from a penalty from 2022. We will receive the 2023 numbers, but this is last year's reflection. So a penalty, $2,750 for 2022. And let's just say if you're a business with 150 employees and you have one employee who goes out and buys a tax subsidy, meaning they've gone to the marketplace exchange and procured a benefit from the marketplace, you are subject to that penalty. So you can see the example that I have here, 150 employee company. This can be a penalty of over $330 in ACA fines. I like to share that with you so that you understand what that looks like and that you know exactly what your employees are doing, making sure that you're offering appropriate coverage and that you are protected along the way. Another area that I'd like to bring forward is talking about legal expertise. You hear me addressing penalty letters in different areas. It's important that I share with you that when you're looking for a vendor, you're looking for somebody who's in this with you for the long haul. And I'll share with you that we work very closely with our ERISA attorney who's on staff, Stacy Barrow. He guides and leads as we go through. If we have a client that reaches out that's struggling or having issues with penalty letters or maybe receiving letters from the IRS, we work one-on-one to make sure that this is taken care of. I'll share with you, staffing seems to be a large area of concern, and they are getting a substantial amount of penalty letters that we are recording at this time. Last year alone, we mitigated over $500 million in penalty letters. So we do know they are real and they are out there. Now, I like to talk about our staffing industry partnerships. Staffing is a unique world, and I've said that a few times now, but I'd like to really point it out to you so that you can appreciate and understand and know that expertise in this area is really important. Essential Staff Care is another one of our staffing industry partnerships, and I'll share with you, and you can read the quote, but there are always many questions that come up about insurance. When do I offer coverage? How do I offer coverage? What does that look like? We work directly with our partners to make sure that you're protected and guided through the process and that the plans are being offered, are utilized and utilized correctly. So You can feel free to read these quotes as I'm posting them out there and putting them up. But I think it's important that you understand that we know that relationship with staffing. And our very own Jeannie, as she spoke and introduced you earlier for me to come on, Jeannie with Advanced Partners, we have been working with this group, and everybody has different challenges, and each company is unique in their own rights. As we dive into these processes, we know that each of you have unique capabilities. We will work with you and guide you through. If you're ever having those difficulties or concerns, you can reach to anyone over at Advanced Partners, and they'll direct you and guide you to the appropriate sources to make sure that everything is taken care of for you. And then if you're having the struggles with ACA, the Advanced Partners team will lead you through that. Now, I kind of like to dive into some of the features that I believe are really, really important that you should consider as you're going through this process. What you need is to make sure that you have a compliance industry leader that can guide you, lead you, and deliver for you. Those are the most important things. The last one that's the key piece is protecting you in this process as you go through. Working with strategic partners to make sure that all of your compliance is delivered and done with accuracy are the list of items that I've listed out here. As you know, there are many different forms of insurance, and you hear me talking about these. ICHRA is a new one, and I want to bring this up and speak to you about ICHRA so that you can understand. ICHRA may be ease of use or very affordable, but it does cause substantial amount of paperwork on the back end. So if you're looking or are considering an ICHRA policy, just remember, we do have our affordability calculators in place. It may be cost effective up front, but it does procure a substantial amount of paperwork to support this product. When you're looking, you should always be looking at quick and easy setup, making sure that you're guided through the process, given the proper tools that you need in order to perform and know that your ACA is going to be done correctly and accurately. Monitoring on a monthly basis, this is very key. Many people think that you can do ACA in November and December and just get ready. That's really not the best way to do your proceedings. You should be working this on a monthly basis, knowing that all of your information is accurately set up and taken care of, knowing that all of your social security numbers are in place, your addresses are correct. When that payroll is pushing over, you want to make sure that everything is coming in accurately and correctly. Print and mail service is another area that's of high importance. You want to know that who's ever filing these forms for you, that they are getting the forms out to your employees on time and that they are doing it with correct information. So making sure that that takes place is another area that you should be considering as you're looking for an ACA provider. Another area that's a growing area is EEO reporting. And I'm going to share with you that ACA started off and it was brought into the circuit, and it was kind of like drinking out of a fire hose for all of us. Many of us didn't know which way to go because brokers did not want to take it, and strategic partners were going, what am I going to do? And payroll's going, how am I going to produce this? EEO1 is on that same track right now. EEO1 is coming in and make sure that you know that your EEO is up to date and ready to go. So finding somebody who can guide you and lead you through that is very important. Now, you've heard me talk about those past year filings. So if you're struggling with any past years, as I've stated, make sure that you speak to somebody so that you can get this taken care of. Also, real-time reporting, very important. You need to make sure that as you're going through, all of your information is kept in real time. When do I offer coverage? How do I do that? What does that look like? We want to make sure that all of that is happening. So when that payroll pushes over, you know exactly who needs to be offered benefits and what are the next steps. Looking for a dedicated account manager is always a key piece because you do want to know that you have some handholding to guide you through this process. Again, you're doing this one time a year. And you want to know that you can say, I have a trusted partner who can lead me, guide me, and advise me on best steps and practices. Again, making sure the IRS audit and inquiry assistance is there. you want to have somebody who's going to say to you prior to pushing that button off to the IRS that there's going to be a penalty if you push the button and move forward. You want to be guided so that you know exactly what you're up against. Making sure that you have quality control checks and test data and data planning, and making sure that you have error reconciliation, making sure that you know if there's errors in your reconciliation are very, very important. And you need to be guided through that with a client service representative. We also make sure that you know penalty consulting is important. Many people say to me, as I go through this process, Michelle, what if I should have been reporting since 2015 and I haven't reported and I haven't received a penalty letter? What does that look like for me? Again, seeking legal counsel to make sure that you're guided and protected are all areas of making sure that you are taken care of as you go through this ACA compliance struggle, hurdle, whatever you want to call it. But getting in front of it is the most important part. And then knowing that in the staffing world, we have many variable hour employees, temporary staff. Knowing that somebody can consult you, guide you, and lead you on that is exactly what you need in order to make sure that you are doing things with all parts of accuracy so that you have everything in place when you're hitting that submission to the IRS. Now, I'm really glad that I could be here today and share all of this information with you. We're going to take some time at this moment to do some open Q&A, and I'm sure Alan and Jeannie may have some questions that have come up, so I'm happy to answer anything that we have that's out there being asked.
Excellent. Michelle, thank you so much for your presentation. While I know IRS is not ever a topic anyone wants to focus on, it's vitally important, and it's important to know the facts and what's required. Alan, have we had questions come in from our attendees?
Thanks, Jeannie. We do have some questions, and we can get started on those right now. The first question I see, it reads, if I have not filed for a past year, are you able to help me get current with any past year's filings, and what is my risk with this? Michelle, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you know, it's good to identify if you are here today and you are struggling and going, gosh, was I an ALE, applicable large group employer? And do I need to report? We can guide you through that. My information is posted on the screen right now. We can dive in, we can take a look, and we'll ask you some questions. And yes, I want to speak with you about it because there is a certain level that we'll speak with legal counsel because there's a certain time that we can go back to, and then we will only bring you forward to that point. We want to make sure that we get all of your past years current before we jump into the present year that we're in, so that the IRS can see that you're working hard to make sure that you're in compliance, so we can guide you, lead you, and give you that expertise and get that taken care of for you.
Thank you. Great question. And then another one that we have, I think it's in relation to something you just mentioned on the previous slide or the slide prior.
Sure.
It was, are you able to list the 6 states? And I'm not sure what specifically
Sure.
that was in reference
Yes.
to, but I'm sure you have a plan and can speak to that.
Yeah. Absolutely. There is not only is there a federal mandate for filing where every state must file, that is a federal mandate. There is also a state mandate that is put in place by 6 states. They are Massachusetts, New Jersey, District of Columbia, California, Rhode Island, and Vermont. So if you are in those states and you file with us, we recognize that you're in those states or that you have employees in those states, and we're going to consult with you and go, you do know that you have a state filing and we need to get that in. There are several of those states that we work with, and there are others that deem and mandate that the state must file. So we'll help you, guide you, and lead you on how to get that completed.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see. The next question I have, I heard the IRS is looking deeper into staffing firms. Is this a true statement? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, yes, yes. And here's what I'll share with you. You heard me talking about how our team has mitigated over $500 million in penalty letters. And I'll share with you that it is very tricky, and staffing is an area because of that temporary staffing field that you all have. This is an area of concern. This is an area where they go to the marketplace and they procure that benefit. This is where the penalties can happen. So you want to make sure that you're offering good insurance, that you're giving the offer of coverage, and that you're tracking that and reporting that to the IRS. If you have offered affordable coverage and you have brought that forward, and yet the employee goes to the marketplace, you will not be fined for that. So we just have a few things that we have to define. But I will share with you, we are finding that staffing is one of those areas that the IRS does look at and does penetrate on, because it is an area where there are a lot of holes. So making sure that you're guided with an expert that can lead you through that is really important.
Thanks, Michelle. Okay, the next thing that came in, next question we have is, can we join the ACA reporting? Can we join in ACA reporting for 2023 if we're coming in now, which essentially is mid-year?
Yes, that's a great question. We are still taking clients. It's important as we talk about these areas, because tracking and reporting in the staffing industry is of really high standard. You have so many employees that are coming in and going out and making sure that they fall between those certain areas of the 13-week rule, which are special guidelines under the IRS. We track and monitor that. So what we'll do is, if you come in mid-year, let's say June, May, we're going to bring you in and we're going to take all of your past payroll data so that we can get that into real time, so that we know that your reporting is accurate and that you are taking care of employees correctly. So it is not a problem to come in mid-year.
All right, thank you. Yeah, that's a great perspective. Okay, so I think we have time for two more questions. This next question, it reads, employees are offered affordable coverage yet choose to apply to a state plan. How can the company safeguard against such scenarios? What is your perspective on that one?
Yeah, I'll share that with you. And that's kind of what I was just speaking about. So if you are offering an affordable health plan for each employee, you are not penalized because you offered affordable coverage. If you offered affordable coverage and they denied that affordable coverage, and you have their unacceptance and they've said, I decline this coverage, and they go to the marketplace, you are protected and you will not be penalized on that.
All right. Yeah, thank you. Good perspective there. Okay, last question that I want to go over here today. What is the most common mistake you see your clients make when filing?
I have a list. Can I go into the list, Alan?
Sure.
So I'll share with you, for my clients, we go through a list with them to make sure that everything's taken care of. It's when we get clients who come to us after the filing season that it's an issue. But I'll share with you, for our clients, you hear me talking about how we're already working on the 2023 filing. We start working that in January. We're already midway through making sure that everything's in place. We want to make sure that every I is dotted and every T is crossed, that you're working with a client service representative to make sure that all of your information is in and accurate, that those offers of coverage are being offered, that anybody who declines coverage is being recorded, and that the affordable insurance is up to date and taken care of. So I would tell you, from my list of items, going through that and making sure that you're keeping everything accurate is the key piece to being successful at the end of the year when it comes time to report.
That's wonderful, Michelle and Alan. Thank you so much. We are going to wrap this up for today. I want to thank everyone for attending. Again, a reminder, we are going to be sending you a link to the recording, and you will have access to any of the Q&A answers. And you may contact Michelle directly if you have further questions after this. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, everyone.